It's here. It's real. It's Closing Shift episode 19.
No, it's not. You're not listening to Closing Shift.
No. The year is 2022. You are listening to Late Night with Big and Wow. All is right in the world, except it's not. But it was in the past, so it feels like it was probably better.
I like how you took my joke and just ran with it. Like, ran away from me with it. I had no idea where you're going.
Well, that's what happens when you just leave that open air. I'm like a hawk. I see that open air and I start flying.
Well, okay. Welcome back to Closing Shift. I'm Cosmic Emerald, and this is my guest host, a hawk. A wild hawk.
That's not the sound they make.
We are obviously your hosts, Bill Nye and Ellen DeGeneres, and we are here today to entertain all of you. There was a bit I wanted to start at the beginning of every podcast that we would alternate weekly asking a random question to open the conversation, but I forgot to think of making that a thing before we started recording. I told you about it, but I didn't come up with a question or ask you if you wanted to come up with a question.
We can still do that now.
Do you have a question you'd like to ask and I can ask next week?
Yeah, can I go to the bathroom?
No, not until you ask a real question.
Bathroom pass only given to those most thought-provoking.
Mrs. Phillips, why do we have to film your podcast with you?
All right, kids, you get an extra 5 points on the test if you are in my TikTok.
You all are the live studio audience for my podcast today.
A lot of like teachers on TikTok. It's like, why are you recording your students? That's kind of weird.
Who doesn't record the mentee to their mentor? Who doesn't do that?
Mentee fresh.
They're like, kids are always filming us. Why can't we film them? Equal rights for filming people against their consent.
Oh, so when a baby is kicking my wife before it's born, that's normal and it's cute.
But when I want revenge.
But when I'm kicking my wife.
I was taking it like, but when I want revenge, so when the baby is born, I kick it like a football. All of a sudden, I'm the bad person.
You asshole! Why have you been kicking my wife?
So did we ask a question, or was that just all jokes? That was just the open.
Isn't life just one big question?
Yeah. What is it? That's the question.
The question is, can I go to the bathroom? There is a time in your life you will reach where the question is, can I go to the bathroom? Not may I go to the bathroom. Can I go to the bathroom? And the answer will be no.
And other questions will be, will I go to the bathroom? Sometimes it'll be no. Sometimes it'll be yes. Sometimes it'll be, how do I go to the bathroom?
Sometimes it'll be no. Sometimes it'll be super no.
Sometimes you're dead and you can't do anything.
Sometimes the question is, will my mom come into the room while I'm playing GTA 5 and tell me that I'm shitting myself and then I should go to the bathroom?
Sometimes your mom walks into your bedroom when you're on Omegle talking to girls. And she says, what are you doing? And embarrasses you. That made me think of that viral video from like forever ago. But it was just a kid playing like Call of Duty online when he was supposed to be sick. And his mom came in and started fucking flaming him for it.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure anyone who's over the age of like 20 knows what I'm talking about. I would watch it back in the day and be like, that's how my mom treats me.
Yeah, that was like an annoying thing when I was a kid. That was like,
I got busted a lot.
If I was sick and like trying to play my Game Boy while I was sick, then it's like, oh, well, you're healthy enough to play Game Boy, then you know you're not sick. You gotta do all this other stuff. And it's like, cool, so now I have to be sick and miserable.
Let me ask you a question, woman. Do you understand the difference between the mental complex it takes to press like 5 buttons and the complex it takes to learn and retain information?
Yeah.
Because clearly you do not understand that.
The big difference here between being able to lay back on the couch and fiddle with a Game Boy, and if I stand up to do dishes, my lungs are going to collapse.
Why don't you understand that going to school is different from sitting and just like hammering my meat all day?
Why you gotta hammer my meat?
I'm coming all the sick out. It's productive.
You know, that is actual 1800s
Someone's got to
medicine.
filter all this out.
Have you ever heard of the humors?
No.
That was basically 1800s medicine and before. They had this idea. It's kind of like where bloodletting came from. They thought that there were these things in your body called the humors. That was basically just like, oh, it's like the water that you drink. It's your blood. It's your piss. It's your cum. That kind of stuff. They were called humors. And there was also one that was just fucking ghost juice. So they thought like any amount of issues that you have, it's like, oh, you must have an imbalance with your humors. You must have too much blood. You must have too little blood. Things like that. It was really not science, but that's just what they thought.
They call those tumors now. That's right.
He's not the humor.
No, it looks like you have a very large tumor inside your very large head. It's unfortunate.
What's the last Arnold movie you've seen?
Dude, I don't fucking know. Whatever Terminator came out in like the mid 2010s, I don't know.
Really?
I haven't seen like that many Arnold movies.
Like what have you watched most recently of Arnold? Is it that?
With him in it?
Yeah.
Probably, yeah.
I think mine is Total Recall, which is a great movie.
I wasn't raised on like, you should watch these important movies that are historical for context as to why anybody might ever ask you, have you seen this in the future? It was like, no, you're a little boy, so you're going to do little boy things like play football, and we're going to guide your gender in a very specific direction before you can catch it.
This feels tangentially related to Terminator.
Movies were not included in that. The most I got was like anything they wanted to see, I would also see, and sometimes I happen to also like it. Or if we had DVDs and I watched the movies on them, I would enjoy them. I hated any movies or shows that were just an emulation of real life, because I was like, I don't need to be reminded what living is like. Like, I want to watch like this funny yellow square make the burgers.
I feel like that's a big problem of like our parents' generation, where they want you to know all their references and all their media so badly while also never having shown you any of it. It's just like, oh yeah, you've seen this, right? And it's like, no, because I didn't even know it existed because nobody ever told me about it because I'm 10. Why at 10 years old will I have seen these movies that you saw 20 years ago?
I hate our fucking parents. Why they always gotta act like Terrence. I hate Terrence.
Fuck Terrence.
No, it's just like, I get being into movies and like exploring movies. I get it. I do that with art, all the different art mediums all the time. I don't get it when they're like, you should kill yourself if you haven't seen Terminator. And it's like,
you should terminate yourself.
It's like, well, guess what? I'm not going to do that. And we're all going to live on and be happy, because nothing is going to change that. It just doesn't matter. Like, I'm 24. There's new things coming out. That's like if we were to like be in 2045 and I said, you haven't seen Barbie? That's such a classic. You should die for that. It's like, no one cares by then. Like, sure, I have a Barbie DVD, but that doesn't mean people have to watch it.
Can you imagine all the kids now in like 30 years, and they have their own kids that are like the age they are now, and they're trying to show them Skibbity Toilet, and it's like, this was the good stuff back in the day.
I absolutely refuse to expose any child past 2030 to memes of our generation. Absolutely not.
I hope there's going to be like 40-year-olds walking around someday that are just like, Skibbity Toilet.
Skibbity. The classics. Vine. I remember Vine. It was like when cavemen had sticks.
You know what's going to be weird is that like with the like assigning of the title Zoomer for Gen Z is like a weird thing, because like that naming convention for a generation, that feels like when somebody has a name that is so specifically like, that's like being called like Timmy. Like being called as like the Zoomer generation feels like no, my name is Thomas, but we're the Timmy generation. Like it's almost like a babyish kind of name. Like all these Zoomers.
Zoomers are babies.
I mean, what?
They're called Zoomers because they all have ADHD, and it's all the kind of ADHD that they just run around and scream at everybody.
Well, that's more Gen Alpha, I'd say.
Well, I'm kidding.
Gen Alpha's a whole other beast, but how old is the oldest Zoomer now?
Oh, that's kind of what I meant, I guess. Gen Z started in 1997, to which would mean that me and my sister are like some of the first Gen Z.
The oldest Gen Z is 27.
Yeah, and my sister will be 27 this year, and I will be 25.
Good googly moogly.
I know that because I looked it up a while ago. I personally don't like really care about the generation titles. Like, there are people who were born in like 2010 that are like pretty cool. It just depends on how they were raised and stuff. And the absolute capacity of their exposure to meme culture also.
Yeah.
Some kids still to this day go to school and just like to enjoy books and TV shows and talking to their friends about video games or whatever. And I can appreciate those people still being in the breeding pool because we need to keep that around.
I feel like generational titles are a lot more important now since the advent of iPad babies, because that really does mark an actual shift in the way that people are being raised, behaviorally, and just the environment that they're in. I feel like now, like, generational titles matter more than they did before, because before it was like, oh, you kids and your brand new steam-powered whatever. It's like, this changes your life about 2% more than mine was. Oh, you got a fancy new scythe that you kids can use in the fields. Like, that's, back in the day, like, generations didn't matter so much when progress moved a lot slower. But now that things move so fast, it's like every new generation is really experiencing an entirely different world than the one that came before them.
Dick come at you fast and even faster when you take it slow. That's a line from Okizme by Rav and Kill Bill, the rapper. I also think I mentioned this on the podcast, but I keep my Amazon speakers in a British voice because, well, one of the reasons I do it is because they say Rav correctly. When it's an American, funny enough, they say Rav for all that Rav bit funny thing we were doing.
Rave, Ruve.
We were talking about at the end of whatever that's, I think it's worth or something, when he's like, it's not Rav, Rave, Ruve, Rav, R-A-V, Rav. And so we just talked about we should just edit it, but every time he says Rav correctly, just make it Rav.
Yeah.
And it sounded funny. That might be, is that Celadon?
It's off of something on Skin, and I'm torn between if it's on Worth, Belong, or Celadon.
I know it's not Through the Fog.
I think it is on Belong, because I remember no, maybe it is Celadon.
No, it's not Belong. I know it's not Belong.
Celadon and Belong have a very similar beat, and I get it mixed up.
Belong has very specific vocals, and it ends...
Celadon ends with, right after all the Rav Rave Ruve, then it goes into the Ainsley clip, where it's like, now this is a very spicy pepper.
I also know about Belong, because Belong is the last song on the album, because it's the one after Breathing Underwater for Dummies.
They do have a very, Celadon and Belong, I get, the beats of those two mixed up a lot.
A lot of Skin sounds very similar, yeah. I used to get, Celadon, Worth, and Through the Fog all mixed up.
Yeah, this is what my Skin sounds like.
I know more of them specifically now, but I also retroactively listened to a lot more Skin recently than I did at first. Skin just wasn't what I started with.
Have you listened to much of I'm On To Me?
I've listened through I'm On To Me once, but I listened to Me Never a million times.
True.
But I've heard all of I'm On To Me at some point.
Rav did a slower version. He did a sort of stripped back slower version of Me Never on a live stream probably 2 years ago. I don't think it you can just find clips of him doing it, but it's interesting.
Yeah. R-A-V.
He's like, pitter pattered on the eggshells like I didn't matter.
Slowed and reverbed.
Slowed and reverbed.
Slowed and reverbed and cummed. I took I'm On To Me and I cummed on it.
Zoomers and Gen Alpha really have kind of
cool album, mind if I come on?
They've kind of reinvented and reversed Nightcore, where everything before was about I guess there is still more people do still speed up songs a lot.
Yeah, there's an artist somewhere. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I was just gonna say really quickly. There's an artist on music platforms just called Nightcore still. I don't know where exactly it came from, but there is an artist out there just called Nightcore.
It's like calling yourself The Rock.
I do have a meme that's The Rock tweeting, "Nobody can defeat me," and then a reply. It doesn't say the reply, but it just shows there's a reply from paper.
Yeah, it's there's two different things. There's Nightcore, sped up. It's not called Nightcore anymore. People don't even call it that. People just speed up songs on TikTok, and then it just exists that way. And people are like, oh, the song is so good, and they don't even know that it's sped up. Because everything sounds better when it's faster.
Usually they're called TikTok edits. There actually is one song I do faster than normal, and I'm not admitting which song it is.
Sometimes it works nice. You either have that or you have slowed and reverbed. Both are just why can't we listen to songs as they're made? That's what I gotta ask sometimes.
Fire Red Gym battle theme slowed and reverbed.
I just gotta wonder why, what's wrong with the song that you gotta either speed it up to where you're gonna have a panic attack listening to it, or it sounds like something you're gonna forget you're listening to in 10 minutes.
I wonder what it would sound like if you sped Me Never up to the point that it is just one sound. I wonder what that noise would be. I'm curious.
It'd be beep.
It'd be yep. Let's see if they're still on us. Just act natural.
I think it would be really fun if Rav had just a really slow, really quiet underneath the back of like a song. Just him saying R-A-V really slowly. So if you speed it up like by like 5 times, then it just sounds like normal R-A-V.
I wonder what it would sound like. I think it would sound funny if you, sorry for the chair creaks, everybody, but also fuck off. I didn't.
Oh my god, chair creaks, everybody.
I didn't make this chair.
Everybody get your fucking guns out. Point them.
Don't shoot, please.
You ruined the audio of a podcast, a fate worthy of
Had
death.
like gunfire. They're like, but I was gonna say if you when he's like rav, not rav, rave, roove, just like speed that up. So he's like R-A-V, rav, rav, rav.
Like a chipmunk's at it.
Literally like nightcore, ravcore,
R-A-V, rav, rav.
Something I do want to do. I actually made a like content related to-do list, and on it I was like, I should bring up to Mia like all the proposals I have for ideas we talked about in the past, like making them real, like big wow bigging things we've talked about in the past. Like one of the things is like Mia and I have talked about a few different times. It doesn't come up much, but every so often we'll bounce the idea around like we should make funny music, or we should just make good music, and we can make both. But I think I do want to start doing that soon. Like I have a midi keyboard.
Say midi?
And if I learned how to use it and we learned how to mix vocals, or at least just learned how to make them sound better, then can make stuff. I've always wanted to make music on my own. I'm just not nearly talented enough to invest my time in another art medium because I just got back into editing videos, I mean. But there's other stuff.
I think you are the only person I've ever heard call it midi and not MIDI.
Oh yeah, no, I always called it midi.
That's weird.
Cool. I'm different. Yeah, I'm different.
I can hear the birds outside my window just going.
I also have this weird glitch with Discord. I have my one monitor split between Discord and Audacity, and I have this weird glitch with Discord whenever, I don't know what triggers it, if anything specifically triggers it. It just, like, makes my Discord go, like, full Discord gray. Makes whatever size the window it is, it doesn't matter. It just makes the whole Discord window go full Discord gray. And if I exit out of it, which I can do because the X button, like, still, all the buttons still work. It's just not showing the window. So I'll X out of it and come back, and then it fixes it, but it'll just do it again. And it's randomly triggered by different things. I don't know what they are, but it's really annoying. It started after I started using Microsoft Edge as my browser, so I feel like it might be because of that, but I don't know how it would be because of that. The reason I started using Microsoft Edge is because it actually does like have a lot less lag than other browsers. And I'm kind of done with Opera GX because every recent time I've tried to use it, it has like worse than mobile delay on Twitch, and it's just like it's convenient, but like, for example, Boomer's like stream fishing game, right? You can redeem channel points to like fish on the thing. People will like announce my results like 5 full seconds before I see them.
Well, that's just kind of like, yeah, mobile is always that way.
No, but I'm talking, this is Opera GX. It's like worse than mobile is what I'm saying.
Oh, this is on desktop?
Yeah, this is on Opera GX, and that's why
I don't have that issue, so I don't know.
I don't know why I'm having that issue in general. It was never like that on Opera before, and there's other browsers too, but I was just like, Edge is just the one that works the fastest.
Well, Edge is just, it's Chromium. It's just like, it is Microsoft's own brand of Chromium.
Yeah, it just works the best for me right now.
It's the same architecture as Google Chrome and Opera.
Edge happens to be one of the only browsers that allows me to use my webcam and mic in the browser, because for some reason, or specifically on my like website where I do therapy and psychiatry and stuff, for some reason Chrome and Opera do not let me do it on their browsers. Chrome might, but Opera does not.
Yeah, it can be pretty weird on those.
We also have been pretty preoccupied with TMTL recently. We've been doing that a lot still. Oh, wait, also real quick before we go into anything else, happy Pride Month, everybody. It is our first episode in Pride Month,
Woohoo!
2024. I hope you all are having a great Pride Month. This is the first Pride Month where I've felt like fully myself, so I'm having a great Pride Month so far. We're only 3 days into it as of recording, but it's gonna be a good Pride Month. Me and my sister plan on going to some Pride stuff. I also am gonna make out with Mia every day to celebrate. Tongue and everything. Just like, you know.
Yes, we are.
Just kiss all the way down our tummies down to, never mind.
We're gonna get the teeth into it.
But yeah, we're gonna bite each other's ears off and then swallow them and then throw them back up on each other's faces. That didn't come out voluntarily, but I'll roll with it. Anyway, TMTL. What has been your TMTL on? What's been your main thing? Your main thing's been your Wither stuff, right?
Yes, that's been the big thing. I've accomplished basically every goal that I wanted in TMTL, which was just to get as powerful as I could and then use all that powerful equipment to build a nice looking house and a nice looking base. And I still haven't even put a floor in my like first house that I built.
I still haven't even built the wall.
I have built like so many other things and I still have not put in a floor in my house, and it would actually just take 1 minute to do it. I don't know why I haven't done it.
Well, it's just
but my
progression of mind.
Yeah, my primary thing has been wither farming has been the big one, because my first goal that I had on the server was I just wanted to do bird related stuff, and I finally made my bird sanctuary. It has ducks, it has other birds flying around in it. It's lovely, it's adorable, it's cute. It's everything that I wanted out of it, so now I'm happy. If the server ended tomorrow, I'd be like, I did what I wanted to do. And so in the other time, the other thing I like to do a lot in Minecraft is a lot of grinding for like a lot of resources, because I am blessed with a lot of time to be able to spend dicking around in Minecraft doing all the boring grinding stuff that other people don't want to do, because I just have like a lot of time in the evening. So I've just been like farming wither skeletons to farm nether stars, because the spawn rates are bad. It's hard to get them. You would have to spend like, if you didn't have the setup that I had for it, the average player would probably spend an hour trying to fight their first wither. And then, you know, it would just be a whole pain. And some people, like, they can get on once a week for, like, 1 hour at a time, and they don't want to spend that time fighting withers. I can tell you that much.
Yeah.
So I have just been farming them and racking up nether stars and giving them away, not as an actual commodity. I think at this point I've killed, like, 21 withers, and I have given away probably 8 or 9 nether stars. And the thing for it is that I wanted it to be so people wouldn't have to grind, was like the big mentality around it. So instead of requiring an actual resource for it, like trading me diamonds or netherite or whatever for it, instead I have other means of making people earn the nether stars, and all of them are duck related. The first thing, for the first star, you have to keep a duck at your base. The second star, you have to write a poem about ducks. For the third and fourth, you have to build statues of ducks. And everything else beyond that, you have to tweet informational facts, like fun information or helpful information about ducks, and spread like awareness of how to properly treat and feed ducks.
You know, funny actually, because you yesterday gave Mia, not Mia, you're Mia. Wow. I just love you so much. Sorry, I was just thinking about you.
You gave Mia a hand job.
No, I didn't. Yes, you did.
I'm talking about like whatever. It's a masturbation joke. Whatever. Move on.
An orgy for one joke, I believe.
That is, yeah.
Not just masturbation. It's an orgy for one. When you told Andrea to tweet about ducks, I believe, am I correct in that she tweeted the thing about like they can't eat bread or whatever?
Yep.
I learned that from the Mr. Hippo Ultimate Custom Night Stories I listen to frequently on Spotify. I have them saved on my local files on Spotify, and I listen to them. They're very relaxing and actually therapeutic, if you can get past the fact that he's like, it seems you have met your end. Oh, what a pity. And even that part's just funny. It's just charming.
It is just nice, yeah.
And it's nice. It's relaxing. He's like, I was having a conversation with my good friend Orville. It's like a mini podcast episode, but with like the most relaxing voice ever. I also have the one saved that he did on TikTok, because someone asked, was like, my friend, I don't know who you are. I don't know what you want. But if you bring back Orville, that'll be the end of it. But if you don't, my friend, if you don't, I will find you, and I will kill you. Okay, I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye. It's so charming. I love Mr. Hippo. My favorite FNAF character thus far. Although I am also seeing, speaking of FNAF, actually, I was looking at my Amazon wish list of DVDs, and I realized I saved the Five Nights at Freddy's Night Shift edition, which sounds lit. I want that movie on DVD so bad. I want to get I'm trying to start a DVD collection as well as a book collection. I've been on a break from books since I finished The Girl from the Sea lesbian graphic novel. Very cool graphic novel, would recommend.
Very cool.
What have you been reading recently, besides my feelings?
Been reading a lot of legal stuff around licenses and things like that. Because I did say last week that I was going to give an update of how my driver's test went. And I can proudly say that it was an automatic fail for reasons that were out of my control, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Like, by the time this episode comes out, I will have retested for my license, and I'll see how that goes. You'll get an update on that for next week's episode. But I'll briefly tell the story of it, that the instructor said that I would have passed if it wasn't for this one incident that happened where I had to make a left turn on an extremely busy intersection that each side had like 6 lanes. And as I was making that left turn, somebody came speeding along, like at least 20 miles over the speed limit, blew through the red light, and also didn't see me and almost hit me. And because, being in danger, the instructor had to give a verbal warning to me, as was, because that was in my blind spot. This is the worst fucking thing about it, that it's an automatic fail, but like, as much as it sucks that like, I like had to get the verbal warning for that oncoming car that was speeding at me, there was nothing I could have done to avoid it, because for the entirety of my turn, it was in my blind spot. To me, that car didn't exist, and there was no way of me knowing that it existed. And if the instructor hadn't have told me that there was a car coming and told me to stop immediately, I would have been fucking T-boned at 60 miles per hour.
Yeah, I feel like that's not fair.
And I'm pretty fucking okay not getting my license for a week to not be in a fucking 60 mile per hour T-bone.
Right.
God, I hate Arizona drivers.
I feel like you should have gotten like an automatic pass for that. Like, that you didn't get your driving instructor in an accident.
Well, things are like, it was because of the instructor that we weren't in an accident, because I just had no way of knowing the car was there. I hate, like, the car that I am testing in is one of my family's cars, and it is my least favorite thing to drive, because it sits so low to the ground and has such terrible like, the windscreen on it, the front windscreen is like at the worst angle where you can see more of the sky than the road. It's so bad. And the blind spots on the left and right side of the windscreen are fucking gigantic and cover entire lanes at a time. I fucking hate driving that car, but that's what I have to use. So because of that circumstance, that like super shitty visibility in this fucking car, it's like I could have fucking been in real serious trouble for that. That could have been real fucking bad.
Yeah, but like, you should have just waited. Fuck is your problem?
You should have just slowly inched across 1 mile per hour at a time through the left turn, even though you also lose points in the driver's test for waiting too long.
Just like why you gotta like fail? Like, it's a little extreme, I feel like.
Yeah, it's just any verbal warning.
Just, like, circumstances that were so out of your control. Verbal warning. I'll give you a verbal warning before I fucking beat your ass into a pulp.
Yeah, that's just the rules.
How dare you? Give me that driving instructor's address. I'll take care of this.
But as long as everybody follows the road laws and doesn't try to fucking hit me in my next test here in a few days, then it all should go well and I'll get my license.
Yeah, good luck. I hope that does not happen.
And if I ever find that fucking driver who was driving the white SUV and gave not half a shit about human life, I'm gonna rip your fucking nuts off, shove them down your throat, rip out your throat, and shove it up your ass.
Oh, and it's gonna hurt. If you don't think it's gonna hurt, I'm gonna make it hurt.
Oh, and you're not gonna like it.
You're not gonna like it. You're not gonna like it when your nuts are so far up your ass, you're tasting them in your throat. Tasting them in your throat. That's a funny phrase. Yeah, I remember actually, I think I was the kid that like did my permit and license stuff like right after I turned the age of them. When I was 15, I did my permit. I'm pretty sure I actually failed the permit test at first because I didn't know you'd have to like take a test on a computer for it, which you did.
Oh yeah.
You had to like go through basically just like PowerPoints and be like, what does this street sign mean and stuff. And it took me 2 tries to get that one. My driving test for 16 for my license was fine. I did it first try. And then first week, before I even got my plastic license, when I still had my paper one, I got into an accident because somebody rear-ended me outside of our high school, which was great just for like traffic and my thing. I also think I've talked about this on the show before, possibly, or at least one of our shows, but my friend who makes music, Kid Crow, was in the car when I got in that accident, and since he walked home every day anyway, I was like, damn, it sucks because I'm not legally allowed to have you in the car. He was like, it's cool, I'll just walk home. And it was one of the most like real homie moments. That's why I love him forever, because he literally like saved my reputation that day by leaving.
I will say one of the like more sucky things about this whole thing with me getting my license is that my family was telling me so much in like the lead up to it that it's like, like, oh, your sister got her license a couple years ago and it was like real easy.
Mhm.
You know, all she had to, like, literally all my sister had to do, because she got her license in like during the pandemic, so I guess they had something like stripped back for it, like really lax for whatever reason. All they made her do was drive around the block and park. And I had to drive 2 miles in heavy traffic, making left-hand turns through the busiest intersections. It's like, this is such fucking bullshit. I was told it was the easiest thing in the world and that I basically had to do nothing. And it's like, what do you mean? You got it that fucking easy and this is what they make me do?
Yeah, like, that is weird. I don't know. I'm sorry for the squeaking. I don't know what the fuck is going on. I was just gonna say, I'm kind of waiting for the squeaking to end somewhat, because my sister's about to drop the dog off up here, because she's got to go to work. But anyway, yeah, I don't remember my driving test, but I'm trying to talk in between squeaks. But my test wasn't super hard, at least for me. It might have just been me, but I was like learning how to drive at like 12 years old, so I was like really into it. I was like super into getting my license first. I actually was the only, like, throughout the duration of high school I was the only sophomore to get a parking spot on campus, because it was my sister's parking spot and I just used it because she didn't go to school. She was doing like dual enrollment at college, but like not going. So I got her parking spot and I drove my friend to school every day illegally. I got away with quite a few things I probably shouldn't have, but that was just my naivety as a kid, and just cops just, I guess, didn't give enough of a shit. Probably had a lot to do with white privilege.
There's an insane amount of people these days that just straight up drive without a license. And if they're just fine, they go about that for years with no problem.
Who needs a license, mama, when you've got a car?
Ka!
Love that song. If you haven't listened to D's Nuts by Ninja Sex Party, you should. Great album.
Good album. Yeah.
It's a very good album.
I might give that a re-listen. There's like a couple on those, a couple songs on that I really liked.
Yeah, I want to do that. Spotify, I just came back to Spotify. I'll talk about that more in a minute, but I wanted to do that listening group thing on Spotify. We should listen to These Nuts again.
That'll be very nice to do with a listening group, as opposed to having to Discord stream the music, because the way that you have your computer audio set up is it's so entirely different from mine that I have to always adjust my audio to be like yours, which completely throws off the rest of my like volume mixing every time I want to listen to something over Discord.
Yeah.
It's like I gotta my volume is always around 30. And I have to like crank it up to like 70 at least, and then turn everything else down. It's like a whole thing. It'd be nice to just have my own volume that I can control independently.
Right. I only know, what is it called? It's called a jam session, I think. Start a jam.
A JO sesh. Charge our crystals.
When you do a jam in a group on Spotify, the only reason I know it works well is because I've heard people in the TMTL VCs like doing it and being like, oh, this song is so good, blah, blah, blah. And they're not talking about having any issues. But there was I don't know if it still exists, but there was like a invite people to listen along with you on Discord, and it never worked.
It was really bad.
It never worked. But if this works well, then that would be great, because
it really seems like the most basic concept ever. And I don't know why it took Spotify so long to get it right.
I don't know. It's like, well, I mean, if you think they're behind, Apple Music doesn't even have normal features on their like desktop app.
Apple's always behind, and then trying to convince you that they're actually ahead.
They're like, we wanted to add dark mode to our iPhone, but we really just wanted to make it perfect. So we spent 4 extra years adding dark mode after everybody else already did.
It really is crazy how iPhones are consistently like the worst in terms of security. They always have such massive vulnerabilities that are so easily exploitable with every new update.
That's not true.
That's not real. No, definitely not.
That's not true.
It's definitely not like one of the most easily compromised smartphones that is also in the pockets of all of our highest officials.
You're right.
Yeah, that's correct.
You are absolutely correct. What? I'm curious, just like, regardless of, I'm going to try to separate companies and their things here. If you had like as much money to cover any streaming service costs you wanted, what would be the only ones you think you would want to have? Like, if you could just use streaming services and pay for them, but it didn't even come out of your bank, what are the ones you would pay for, despite why you wouldn't pay for others? Just like, which ones are important enough to you, I guess, that you would use that privilege on?
I feel like that's a hard question because like basically all of them suck now and are degrading in quality quickly. So it's like when I think of streaming services, there isn't anyone that sticks out like, oh, that's a good one. Like none of them are like, it would only be
any kind of
whichever one would have the shows that I would want to see. But even that rotates a lot. So like,
any kind of, let me broaden that horizon. I mean like, well, I did mean like TV show service. Do you have any of like those you would keep at all generally?
I mean, it's like, I'm not particularly attached to like any streaming services that I do currently have access to because of like how just not great all of them are. Like if I want to watch something on Paramount, then it's like 4 ads every 10 minutes and it fucking sucks ass. And it doesn't know when you've just watched ads too. So you'll be like, you'll watch 4 ads and then you'll have to like swipe out. Like if you're watching on mobile, you'll watch 4 ads, you'll swipe out to respond to a text, come back in, another 4 ads. Like it has no fucking system like that YouTube does. And it's like, that's really the experience that I'm getting on like every streaming service now. It's like, oh, that show that I liked is no longer here. And the advertisements I don't like are now here even more. So it's like, I just watch YouTube, like basically for everything. It's like, that is as good as it gets for me. Everything that I want to see is not on a streaming service. And what are you going to say? Netflix?
No, I was letting my sister drop off the dog.
I am tempted to like get a little bit of Netflix for a moment because Godzilla -1 apparently just came to Netflix.
I would say you can use my account because I actually do have my own Netflix account, but it has the region locking thing. Although you might be able to use the I'm on vacation feature for it. If that did work, you're welcome to use my account. Or we could just watch it together, I guess. I just don't have any interest in seeing that really, but I would watch it for you because I want to be you.
Anything's possible. I think it would be really fun to like get like a actual version of Godzilla -1 that I could like get like an MP4 or something of it so I could watch it in VR. That'd be fun.
Here, you know what I'll do? I'll just go on Netflix and record the whole movie, and then I'll send it to you. I mean, I won't do that.
That's what I did like a couple months ago. There's like 20 some odd Godzilla movies, maybe more, that you can find on archive.org. That's just called Recurring Lizard Infestation is the playlist. And it's got a whole bunch of classic Godzilla all the way up until the 2000s. And so I just you can just download an MP4 of it, load it onto my Quest 2 and just watch it in a virtual theater. And it was really fun. I did that for the Ghidorah, the 3-headed monster. I watched that one in a virtual theater and it was rather nice.
Get her out of here.
Get her out of here.
Get this bitch out of my tavern.
I haven't watched a Godzilla movie in a good couple months, but I was for a minute binging through them, and I'll probably continue that again, because I do want to do more VR stuff. I've been having fun in VR, and watching movies in VR is pretty fun. It gets kind of uncomfortable, but it's pretty fun.
Weren't you I thought a month or two ago, you were like, yeah, the Quest 2 just ain't it. It's just not worth it.
Well, I still hold that. I still think that the Quest 2 sucks, and it's definitely not worth the money. When you could just when you could save a little bit more money and have something significantly better. It's like spending $10 on a candy bar when for $12 you can have a 4-course meal.
I fucking wish.
So the Quest 2 sucks, but I own it, so I'm gonna fucking use it.
That is a mindset I carry about a lot of things. Yeah, that's fair. I have the Quest 1. Like if you started getting quests at the 2 or the 3, consider yourself lucky. I have the 1. And the original.
I don't even know. I haven't looked into literally anything about the Quest 3 because I'm just this seems so unnecessary for anybody to own ever, because the price tag that it offers is okay, if you're going to get the more advanced Quest 3, then you might as well just, at that point, you should just get a PC attached system.
Right. That would be my next plan for VR, even though I don't have a next plan for VR. If I ever, for some reason, was going to do some kind of content or gaming related VR thing, and I was going to just if I was just making enough money that I was just going to buy a new headset so I could do it, it definitely would be a wired one for PC. Also, the reason I want that is because there's just the biggest perk ever to playing Beat Saber on Steam is you get all the community maps. You cannot get those on anything else, which sucks ass. Because there actually is a way to put them on the Quest. There's a way to put custom ones on the Quest. It's not the Steam community ones, but there is a way to do that because I've done it before.
This is a side quest, yeah.
Oh, yeah. VR, I had fun with the gimmick part of it for a while. Most of what I did was Beat Saber, but we also did I still honestly could golf 9 or 18 holes in VR if I had a friend to do it with. If I had a lover to do it with. I just wish I could golf with my baby. But I don't. I mean, yeah, I was going to say something else, I guess, but I don't. Period. End of story.
I think the best VR experience you can get for, like, if you want to make your headset worth it at all, like, if you want to get any value out of your Quest, then get the Five Nights at Freddy's VR. That is, like...
Five Nights at Freddy's VR is really fun.
That game alone, I think, is kind of like how a lot of people are like, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth justifies my PS5. Five Nights at Freddy's VR justifies my Quest 2 to, like, a legitimate extent that I feel like at least I'm getting something out of this. I get, like, it's a really fun game. That's, like, I think my favorite thing that I've done in VR has been that.
I'm impressed at that.
That makes it worth it.
Not because of you. I didn't think of it like that. It is a fun experience. I remember when I was dog sitting for my sister one time. She used to live in a big house and now lives in a bigger house. But I was in their living room, which, if you know anything about big houses, living rooms are just like open fucking grounds, just like open field.
It's like a barn.
Yeah, basically. And I would just like Beat Saber my fucking brain out in there, and I would also play FNAF VR and be like, shit, I can't hit this camera button. What the fuck? And I would play FNAF VR more if I could like capture it, but I don't feel, for one thing, I don't feel like using any methods of which you can capture it through the Quest because it's the Quest anyway. I would legitimately at this point rather wait until I can buy a PC headset and then repurchase it on Steam, or if I really wanted to keep the Quest thing up, I would just find it too.
I have good news for you that a lot of titles for Quest are really fucking stupid, and if you buy it in the Quest store, it doesn't count for the PC Quest store. Because I can play Beat Saber on my Quest standalone, but I can't play Beat Saber when it's connected to my computer. You gotta buy it again for that, which is super fucking stupid.
That makes perfect sense.
Five Nights at Freddy's VR is an exception to that. If you own it on the Quest, it also transfers to PC, and you can do the Quest link for that, and that's how I've done it.
Oh, that's cool. Well, again, it's mostly about capturing my Quest and my headset. Because I would have done Beat Saber by this point, too, on stream. I could have done that a million times, but the best you can get is, like, the Oculus casting website thing.
Well, no, they have a better thing than that now. It's called the Quest Link.
Well, yeah, but you have to buy the cable for that, and it's like It's like an $80.
No, you can do it wireless.
Well, what is the thing you're talking about?
I'm still talking about just the Quest Link, that it works over either cable or wireless over Wi-Fi.
Is it like a software?
It's just built into your Quest.
How?
It's just called I don't know. I don't know if it's on the Quest 1. I genuinely can't say if it's on the Quest 1.
My confusion is I'm wondering.
It is in the same thing as like the Link cable. It works in the same system, same menu as the Link cable.
I've never used that menu, so I guess I don't know. I'm just wondering how it like displays. Does it come in as like a video source, like you put it into OBS as a video capture source?
Well, okay, so this is the thing. This is the misunderstanding that we're happening here. You're thinking of that it's projecting your VR screen into your computer. It's the opposite.
Oh, this is when you mean like playing PC games with your Quest. It becomes a PC headset? Okay. I understand that now. So you're just capturing the game because it's open.
Yeah.
Considering I don't have any VR games, that sucks. Except for literally Among Us VR, because I bought that for some reason. And I would play it, just no one else got it. Except for, like, you, I think.
Among Us VR, no, I never got it, because nobody else got it. Like, unless more than 2 people are going to get it, there's no reason to get it. I got it,
like, right when it came out, because I was like, one day, this is going to be the best purchase I've ever made.
Unfortunately, Among Us VR, it also goes into the context of what the Quest system really exists for, which is that it doesn't require a PC for standalone. It can just do its own thing. It's like buying an Xbox. So it is just kind of a VR babysitter of sorts. Among Us VR public lobbies are basically a daycare. You will not find anybody over the age of 10 in an Among Us VR public lobby.
Yeah.
It is just a babysitter. Same with like stuff like Gorilla Tag. It's just like, this is what the Quest exists for, is to be a babysitter.
Have you ever seen that video of that guy who went up to a kid in Among Us VR and was like, I'm the imposter, I'm gonna kill you, rah, rah, rah.
I've seen people, I saw a video of somebody doing like the Among Us VR, maybe it was the same guy, I don't know, but he like asked this kid like what his address was, and the kid was like, I live here, I go to this school, and he's like, kid, I need to teach you a fucking lesson right fucking now. You need to listen to me, this is not safe, you should not be here. You should not tell me that.
Ever do that again.
Yeah, he was just like, buddy, please, I need to make sure that you're safe. Like, he like was legit scared for this child because, like, oh my god,
Well,
they shouldn't be on the internet like this.
no, you shouldn't. But kids just don't know. They learn that the internet exists before they learn how to use it.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. There's no classes on internet safety anymore because everybody just thought like, oh, they grow up with it, they know how to use it.
Like, no,
Same thing with computers.
kids are still stupid, believe it or not.
There's so many people that don't know how to use the internet or computers.
And they're just getting dumber. My sister taught kids at an 8th grade level, and most of them could only write and read at a 3rd grade level by the time they got there. And it's just like they're just not getting the education they need.
There's a great picture from, it's like George Bush posing in front of like the big old banner of when they first rolled out their like program, their system of No Child Left Behind. Which was supposed to be like helping like kids, making sure no child got left behind educationally. Everybody was going to be getting a proper education. And so now people just crop the image so it just says child left behind.
Child left behind.
And they'll just like reply that on like somebody being stupid when it's like the new version of like the American educational system has failed this person. It's just that. It's now that in an image form of child left behind.
That is funny, yeah. That's just how the cookie crumbles.
This is how the cumky cookles.
This is how the tumky crumbles.
McClanky.
Let me rephrase my question from earlier. If you could have an unlimited collection of any kind of physical media, what would it be? Books,
Ooh.
DVDs, old video games, regardless of the need to like, you would automatically just apply the thing you need to like display them or use them.
Yeah, it's like if you say like records, then you have a record player.
Right. Would it be like vinyls and records? Would it be like CDs? Like if you could have a massive collection of like one to your wit's end, what would it be? I think mine would probably be DVDs because you can get shows and movies on DVDs.
That's fair. I kind of like cassettes. As shitty as cassette is and easy to break, and like just how like it all like in an ideal world, if I can just imagine an ideal world where cassettes don't break down and degrade over time, I would just love. I love cassettes. I love it that the fact that this physical media is just recorded on a rope of magnets. Like that's just cool. It's like you have this piece of tape that you shot a magnet at in a really special way, and now you put another magnet to it and it has all this information on it. I think that's like a really cool, fun thing, and I love the tactile sensation of like, hang on, I have a it's probably in a box. I don't know if I can find it. I might like look for like a minute, but I have like a little portable cassette player that it has just like the most fun like clicky tactile buttons. Like
That's cool.
You press play and it's like real like soft but clicky. It's like everything about like those kind of buttons. I love the like 80s buttons that you would get on like VHS players and shit like that.
Yeah.
I love having a button that actually physically moves a component inside of the device, and cassette is perfect for that.
Right. It was pretty fun. That's what made like technology cool back in the days. You press a button and something happens, and now like there's a million different touch gestures on your iPhone to do different things.
This is something that I have said to like, I've said it many times before in the past, that I would spend all day and night editing if all of the like controls for Premiere Pro were a whole bunch of like buttons and switches.
You could probably find a way to make that happen.
Yeah, but not practically.
Not practically, but if you go...
But if it had like that fun, like tactile, like everything physical, like that sort of interactability of like all these like switches, levers, everything, these like very clicky buttons, everything that like it feels physical.
So you're saying you would edit more if your editing station looked more like the console of a plane.
Exactly. Yes. If it was like the controls of a fucking locomotive, I want to like make a cut and have to crank like a gigantic Frankenstein-esque lever.
Export. Yeah, I only recently got back into editing and I was talking to Ty about this. That Nerd Ty, shout out That Nerd Ty.
Shout out.
I was talking to him because we both recently just got back in editing and we've kind of adapted the same strategy. And it's nice because it takes a load off of like the editing. A lot of editing issues people have motivating themselves to edit is you just look at like a pile of footage and you're like, I don't want to sit down and edit all that right now. But what makes it easier, you split it into an easy part and then a mostly easier part because you did the first easy part. You just cut up the footage to what you want. You just like cut down the footage to the parts you want, and then later, after a break, you go back and edit those parts. That's what I've been doing with the TMTL highlight. I've been making the first one, and it made it so much easier. I started doing it with Getting to Know Boomer BTV. It makes it a lot easier. Would recommend for all my video editors out there. Video editor pro tip from someone who's been editing for like 8 years. Should just like cut up the footage, do the easy part first, and then go back and edit. And if it's like a thing for you, like I hate hearing my own voice back, I don't want to listen to my own voice like that. At some point, you will or are going to have to get over that if you want to edit your own videos.
I've been so okay with the sound of my own voice for so many years because I'm just so used to it at this point. Like, I got over that real quick.
I've gotten used to it now.
I don't know entirely just how I ended up getting my brain to do it, but for the last episode of this, we recorded for over 2 hours. Mm-hmm. It was like just over 2 hours of audio, the longest that we've ever recorded. And somehow I got all of that done in one sitting because I had to wake up at like 6 a.m. for my grandma's appointment. And then for the entire rest of the day, I knew that I wasn't going to have time to do like anything. I knew I was going to be busy the entire rest of the day to an extent that I wouldn't be able to stream. So I just edited from like 8:30 to 11:30 and got like the whole thing done and like in one thing. And I was like, oh my God, it's done.
That's what happened when I made the Schultzman tier list 2 years ago. Me and Schultzman did a fast food restaurant tier list. That is an hour-long video. And although it wasn't like the heaviest editing I've done, I edited it a lot. It took me like 8 to 12 hours, and I did it all in one day.
It really does be like that.
You have to want this shit if you're going to do it.
Sometimes you just hit a stride and you just got to go for it. I feel like sometimes when I'm at the very end of editing something, like I'll end up pretty tired by the time that I'm like really close to finishing an edit on one of these episodes. And by the end of it, I'm just like moving so like in like a rhythm of it, like pre-programmed movements of it all that like I feel like as I move from keyboard to mouse, I look like fucking Beethoven, like slouched over his keyboard.
Yeah. It's a very, very common thing with ADHD to like have so much trouble getting yourself started, but once you get started, you're like the hardest worker on the entire planet and you won't stop until it's done.
Yeah, that would happen a lot when I was on Adderall, when I did have ADHD medication for a while. That's like, just get infinite motivation for whatever. You get no say in what you get the infinite motivation for, but you just get it. And sometimes I would just be doing something for 8 hours straight.
Right. Like, Jaden Animations just made a video called I Found Out I Have ADHD, and I watched it and I was like, Jaden said like, you don't understand, like I had this pile of work and it was like hard for me to do blah blah blah, and I was like, Jaden, trust me, I understand. ADHD is tough. I think it's a very like underappreciated thing when people can like conquer a lot of their ADHD to get work like that done. The way I've found around it for me is like I've learned how to kind of talk myself into getting started on things, and I have learned how to use the power of thinking about how easy it will be to do once I get started to help me get started. I've just had more time by myself to like think over these things and talk to myself and connect with myself about them than like most people probably do. So things like that have gotten easier for me in general. It's why sometimes I feel bad when I like talk to other people about it, because I don't want to be like, oh, I got over that thing you're having a problem with. So I try not to talk like that.
People don't understand that with ADHD, it requires so much like self-behavioral training. Like you almost have to like train yourself like you're a dog to get anything done, and then it's thankless by the end of it because it's what you're supposed to do as a normal functioning member of society. But it's like just the one thing that you want to get done could have taken like an entire month of conditioning yourself to be capable of doing it.
Right. And I've just had an abundance of that conditioning. I'm such an analytical person that I used to irrationally judge myself, and then once I learned how to rationally judge myself, it got a lot better. It's like a really unique thing to do. That's why I don't know how to explain it. Like I said, when I talk about it, it's hard for me to not sound like I'm like gloating about how much I have a handle on my ADHD, but that doesn't mean that like I do everything perfectly and am always motivated now. I still struggle with all of it, and being able to have methods around the struggle somewhat just makes it like a little like halfway easier than it was before. But it's that grind set is like fun once you get into it, for me at least. It's like,
Yeah.
it's like you're editing a video and you're like, damn, this is going to be such a good fucking video.
When it comes to ADHD, there really is no difference between motivation and mania. Like, I feel like the only times that I've ever actually like been fully motivated.
Welcome back to WrestleMania.
WrestleMania. The only times that I've ever been fully motivated to do something where I can just like immediately think about doing something and then go do it and get it done is when like that's all I can do for like a week is just focus on that one thing. And it's just like pure fucking craziness in the entire time that exists.
Right.
You'll just like stop eating for like 3 days and just get so dedicated into something.
Yeah. You literally can get like so hyperfixated that you just like forget eating exists.
Or the opposite, where you just can't think about anything for like an entire week and any thought more than pushing one button. This is like a great quote from I don't remember what the guy's name is, but I was watching like a thing, like a product review for like a standing desk, and he was like, this thing raises and lowers with one button, and I have only a singular molecule of dopamine floating around in my brain, so anything more than one button goes from a maybe to a never gonna happen. And it's exactly that. It's like if I have to do anything more than just like pressing one button to do any of this for this entire week, I might as well just explode.
Yeah, it's hard to get through dealing with like how much there's so little support in the general open world for like mental health, and then getting over learning how to cope with that and learning how to cope with ADHD and motivating yourself to do things. Like there's a lot of kids who are like, I was so, or I guess they'd be adults now in this scenario, but they were like, when I was a kid in elementary school, like I was like top of my class, always homework on time, felt engaged. And now that I'm in college, I want to die and I can never focus and stuff. And sometimes that's like a dependence on the people you were around then that you just don't have anymore, which is normal. But also, I was just going to say what happened to me too is like the reason I went through so many phases with like YouTube and Twitch and so many channels and stuff is because, well, the deleting and restarting channels thing came from a lot of like, I used to have a heaven or hell be all end all mindset that like if a channel was dead, there was no point in trying to bring it back. I would let things fall into holes and I would never try to pull them out. And now with Cosmic Emerald, I've been a lot better off, but that's why I took so long of breaks in between Cosmic Emerald video output, because I would like have a few good ideas, I'd make them, I would be motivated, and then something would happen and I would just forget. Kind of like eating we were talking about earlier. I would forget that my channel even like was a thing and I would just forget to do it. But now that I'm in a really good place for it, like I'm trying by the end of 2024 to be somewhat living off of this career and community too, and like collabing and everything is like a huge part of that. I want to do more bigger things like that, like TMTL is.
So it's probably been the best thing for my ADHD, the fact that we do a show every week.
Mm-hmm.
That like it's a very strong thing to have like structure,
right?
And I think I get more done with editing this show than anything else that I could edit independently. That like if something doesn't have a deadline, it's not getting done. That's just the way that my brain is. If it doesn't have a deadline, it's not going to happen. It is going to immediately fall into whatever lowest priority there is, because there will always be something higher up on it that my brain sees a deadline on and is like, that goes higher on the list. So like anything that I want to edit for myself, just I can't focus on that because there's no deadline that it has to go out by. And I'm really bad at holding myself to my own deadlines, because I'm just like, oh, you want me to fucking release this, do this by this day? Yeah, I know the person who made that deadline and they're a fucking idiot, so I'm not listening. Mm-hmm. But when we have something like this, and it's like, oh yeah, every Friday at this time, then like,
right,
knowing that like, there is that deadline, I'm just like, oh, I can do this because I know when it has to be done by, and I have like a realistic expectation of how long it takes to do it, so my brain can actually like do it. It's nice.
Yeah, that structure is important for sure. It's kind of what my job does for me. Like, I know that I have every Saturday, Sunday, and Monday off of work. So when I have work days, I can rely on the fact that I will 95% probably not be streaming or anything like that. I often use the mornings before work to work on, like, house things or, like, edit if it's content related, or I'll, like, hop on a game and play it, or hop on a few games and play them. And editing... for me, it's like when you were talking about, I'm trying to remember what my point was and what you said that made me realize what my point was. Fuck. Feels like my brain's getting fucked and eating its own pussy at the same time. I was going to ask, while I think, what your different platform goals are for this year, if you have any, like, goals to make anything set in stone this year. Because, I mean, like, for me, with editing this first TMTL highlight and how it's going so far, it's going really well. So I've finally found a method to the madness of editing stream highlights. So I have, like, all these ideas for streams I can do and videos. And since I have a method of editing them now, I think once I edit a few videos, they'll start coming out faster and faster as I do more.
I have a method for this year. I have something that I'm going to be sticking by. That is my plan for the year, because video games cost $70, and I'm trying to save money this year. So the theme of this year is milk, recycle, milk, milk, milk. Every last bit of content I can squeeze out of the things I already own, I will. I have already this year replayed 2 games that I've already played before to great extent, and I'm going to keep replaying games this year and getting new content out of them and bleed this stone dry. I'm going to be replaying Morrowind. I'm replaying Skyrim right now. I'm going to be doing Cyberpunk again. Everything. It is recycle as much as I fucking can.
You got to utilize what you have. You got to be resourceful.
If I can get through the end of this year without buying another AAA title, I will have succeeded.
Yeah, for sure. I try to do the same thing. That's why, like, when I look at games that are, like, multiplayer and, like, you play them over and over again like that, I try to milk them for as much as I can, or, like, use the endless amounts of indie horror games on itch.io, which I haven't even gotten back to 3 Scary Games yet. I wanted to, but I'm trying to work it possibly into being a stream thing, trying to create a system for stream segments, but it just depends. I haven't figured that out yet. Mostly it's just like stream and then just make a note in my head of what part of the stream would work best for a upcoming video, and then go back later and cut the VOD down to that part of the VOD and then put it in the timeline and get going. Seems to work for me right now.
Gotta have a good system.
Yeah, gotta have a good system. Speaking of system, I guess, now would be the time for the closing shift system to shut down, because it's the end of the episode.
Voyager 1 now leaving the closing shift system.